Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. Bicycle Retail Radio brings together retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders for honest discussions about the latest issues facing bicycle retailers. The podcast dives deep into the challenges and triumphs of the bicycle industry, providing an in-depth look at the person behind the profession. Aiming to deliver content that's both relatable and thought-provoking, offering real-world tips and insights to help you find success in the bicycle industry. There's a human side of the business, and the podcast aims to share stories, experiences, and strategies that you can apply in your own shop. Whether you're looking for inspiration, practical advice, or a sense of community, you've come to the right place. The National Bicycle Dealer Association has a rich history of supporting retailers across the nation. Founded in 1946 with a mission to strengthen specialty bicycle retailers through education, through research, through communication, and through advocacy. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is proudly supported by our members and our membership. If you'd like to learn more about the benefits of joining, please visit nbda.com.
Attention, bicycle retailers. The NBDA Retailer Summit is coming to Las Vegas, March 25th. Join over 150 of the industry's top retailers at Retailer Summit West, an exclusive one-day event featuring powerful insights, hands-on workshops, and unbeatable networking opportunities. Spend the day with top experts in our industry. Don't miss this chance to elevate your business. Learn more and register at nbda.com.
Hello, listeners. It's NBDA President Heather Mason. Thanks for being here. My guest today is Jim Mincher, founder and owner of Two Wheeler Dealer in Wilmington, North Carolina. Celebrating over 50 years in the business, at least 80% of Jim's time is spent on the sales floor so that he can promote his philosophy that bikes are fun and that the buyer needs to be happy. In today's conversation, we talk about the business success, longevity, customer service, family business, and exit plan. There's lots of great nuggets for other retailers in here. I'm a big fan of Jim. I hope you enjoy. Jim, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Okay. Good to be here.
I am so thrilled to get to know you, get to know Two Wheeler Dealer, celebrating 50 years. And I think we have a lot of opportunity to share your thoughts on bicycle retail, culture, staff, inventory, supplier relationships, planning, profitability. This is going to be a good conversation. I appreciate you volunteering your time.
Well, thank you. I'm more than happy to do it for the NBDA.
Jim, why the bike industry? Like, do you love what you do? I just want to start off with this top level big question for you.
I mean, yes, I do love it. And I love the people that are in it. I mean, like yourself, I've kind of become, know you for the past, I don't know how many, a few years, right?
It's been awesome.
There's just so many characters and people. I don't know. I love it. I love my customers, my employees. The employees are the most important thing we have.
It's a great industry. And yeah, the employees, you get to impact people's lives and, make them be a part of your team. What about top level again? Listeners, we're just jumping right in here. What about the relationships with the brands you have carried over the years? I know you have some partners you've worked with for many years. I have been a Jameis dealer since the early 80s or probably 78 with Ron Jameis way back when. I carried his BMX bikes that he sold and then got into his cruisers and every other bike line. Then I guess next was Trek in the early 80s. As soon as Giant showed at a bicycle show, I forget where it was, they were in some little tiny room. I saw them and I signed up for a deal to be a dealer because I knew they made good bikes. I've been selling bikes made by Giant. So there we go. That, but it just, I don't know, there's so many great people, got to be real good friends with Karen Joanno of Joanno Jameis Bicycles, Jack and Ben of JMB, old, past now, but Ron Jameis, he was awesome. Pat Canane, that was from Ross Bicycle days. Just
I don't know, that you get to rub elbows with famous people at bicycle shows. Lucky to have a really great staff and have over the years. For our 50th anniversary, I've been prompted by Chris in the office to make a list of all the employees that ever worked at the store. And I thought, you're crazy. But I started throwing out some old papers and started finding old names. And over the period of months, I added to it. And we've had 157 employees come through there in 50 years. But I'm lucky to work with my two sons, but have great customers walk into the store.
It's a fabulous industry to work in. I mean, some of the names you've mentioned, I think about the different roles, over the span of people's careers, how they've impacted retailers. We see people moving from one brand to another, but we have those relationships that we carry forward. I've been, on the brand side, it's been interesting lately, brands, some may come and go, I think, at the IBD level. Like, I'm sure you've worked with many major bike brands over the years, as you say, but at the heart of it, I tell the retailer, make sure those relationships are good, but your brand, the IBD, your brand is really what you need to protect.
You have to watch out for yourself. And the brands, I always say, what you carry is like a poker game. You get the cards you're dealt over the years. You may want to carry a brand, but somebody else is carrying it. They may get rid of it, and then you can pick it up. It just kind of comes and goes. So you can't be all things to everybody, but you can be most things to most people.
Yeah. Listeners, Two Wheeler Dealer is located in Wilmington, North Carolina. Jim, I am going to get down and visit you on my way. I think I've said I'm stopping in, and then plans change, but
we're right off the interstate on your way south.
It'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's touch base on how things have been since COVID. COVID impacted the industry, and you're 50 years now, so you've been through COVID. How did you navigate that time, and did it impact the store?
Oh, hugely. I mean, of course, the repairs skyrocketed, sales skyrocketed, and we navigated it very, very well. We came out the other end good. It was very challenging. I liked the challenge of navigating it, getting product, adapting day to day. We used to have weekly meetings. Those turned into daily meetings, and they still are. They're better, 10 minutes or, 20 minutes every morning for a little powwow just to get things going the right direction. But before COVID, I always say we were on easy street. We would order everything on Monday, get it in on Tuesday and Wednesday, get it to the customers, get it on the shelf, and just repeat week after week after week. And then when COVID hit, I bought early, bikes, tubes, derailleurs, cables, just stockpiled like a lot of dealers did. And we never turned away a flat tire or a repair. We had hundreds of repairs. It was really crazy times.
And was it stressful for you, or did you enjoy navigating it?
I enjoyed navigating it and trying to, number one, the employees, trying to, keep everybody happy and not too overworked. We didn't necessarily put in a whole lot of overtime. Having the doors closed and us working on the inside, we could get more work done without customers, quote, bothering us on the inside of the store. I kind of enjoyed the challenge of doing that.
Do you feel like we've kind of, if I would say, like, we've level set now in 2024, like it was a hump period and we've kind of come back down now to where we were pre-COVID?
For my store, we're now even or slightly ahead of 2019. 2019 was a good year for us, don't get me wrong. I mean, we were very happy with 2019 and we're very happy where we are now.
Excellent. I wonder, I know you spend 80% of your time on the sales floor talking with your customers. Relationships are important. Do you still have time to ride? Do you get out and find
Oh,
time?
yeah, I ride, 4 or 5 times a week, and it may not be the 50, 75-mile bike rides I used to do, or 100, I don't know, got into, you know, racing at one point. The first triathlon supposedly in the United States, but definitely the East Coast, was born right here in 1979. As a matter of fact, that race is tomorrow.
Is it the Battleship one? Is that the one?
No, that one came around later. This one's the YMCA Pepsi, or well, it's not Pepsi anymore, triathlon. And
Okay.
1979 was the first year. There's actually been a documentary made on it. It hadn't been released yet, but it's a good documentary. So triathlons have been really strong in this area. That's why the Battleship came around. It has dropped a little bit, but and then participation, although they're going to have 1,200 people tomorrow.
That's pretty great.
We've raced mountain bikes, been a commuter, like taking a vacation on my bike with my panniers and camping gear. And, I don't know. So cycling is definitely a part of my life, and a part of fitness that has really paid dividends as I've gotten over 70 years old too.
Yeah. And I think just being a cyclist, when you're on the sales floor too, you can talk about, it makes it more relatable as well. Is that what inspired you to start Two Wheeler Dealer? Were you a fan of cycling? Or, wind us back to 1974 when you started.
Well, as a kid, we rode bicycles. We'd putting bicycles together to make a tandem. And, my dad taught us how to fix flat tires early on. But surfing became a part of my life in Galveston, Texas. And we thought that if we had a sailboat, we could go surfing anywhere in the world. So we moved to Miami, a friend of mine and myself, and we got a sailboat, went to the Bahamas for months, came back and sold the boat. I had previously sold my car, thinking I'm never coming back, short-sightedness, but I started riding a bicycle for transportation in Miami and getting to and from the work I had. And I got a job in a bike shop in Miami and thought, this is really what I want to do. And then moved to North Carolina and opened Two Wheeler Dealer in 1974.
Wow, what a story! Like from Houston, Texas to the Bahamas and selling. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was just, in Miami, it was just fun riding down there. I really started liking riding a bike. And we just, I moved up here. My dad loaned me $5,000 to open the store. I bought 10 bicycles from Walthour and Hood, who no longer exists. They had a warehouse in Charlotte, Atlanta, and Miami. I saw my old sales rep the other day, Doug Waitsman.
Really?
He was in Columbia, South Carolina, had a bike shop for years. He was a member of MBDA. So I still have those connections from even the 70s, but I remember buying 10 bikes and a bunch of parts and opened my door, and I kept that original receipt, and that name on that receipt that guy is still a customer today. Matter of fact, he came to our 50th anniversary party we had a few weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And at that point, you were renting space, but now you've built a new building on the property, right?
Yes. I rented for 15 years, and then I was renting from a guy that had a car garage behind the building I was renting, and he wanted to retire. So I bought that piece of property from him, and then it was big enough to build a building, which is currently, it's been added onto, but it's 10,000 square feet. I'm still in that original location. Wow. Which it actually ends up, I'm not on a busy street. I'm kind of off of the busy streets, and it's a blessing because there's not traffic all around us, and we've got good places to test ride a bike on the back street and the bike path. And so yeah, I was able to buy the property, and that's very important if a small business can buy their property.
I agree. Jim, what about the surfing? Do you still surf or?
Oh yeah, that's very big in my life. I just got back from a week in Costa Rica. These days, you watch the weather forecasts and you can see the waves coming in from down around Chile and South America, and you can fly down there and surf for 4 or 5 days and come home and basically get your money's worth. But I still surf around here all the time too. It's just if you want, the more challenging surf, we we go get it. And I travel extensively for surfing
Yeah.
and cycling. I mean, I take a lot of cycling vacations.
Yeah, Costa Rica. I remember you told me you were just there. I love Costa Rica. And from where you are, it's not a bad flight either. Pretty
You're
quick.
there at 11:30 in the morning.
Yeah. All right. So you open a shop, and very early days, how was business? Did it just boom right away? Anything memorable about those early days?
Looking back, it was probably terrible. If you took in $100 in a day, you were probably doing pretty good. I'd have to add those up, but it was right at the end of the quote, the bike boom of the early 70s, which I really didn't know anything about. I went into it totally blind, and I just persevered, and I was actually in one location for a year, and then I moved into my current location after 1 year. And then I happened to move in the cheapest rent I could find in Wilmington. I remember it was $150 a month. And it happened to be across the street from where a bike shop had been for years before that had gone out of business. I guess the bike boom crashing put him out of business.
Mm.
And I opened there, and I would sit in my window and watch cars pull up across the street, and then they would see me and drive back across the street and give me business. And business started going up from there, and it just kind of slowly grew.
Did you tell me something about painting a bike on the outside of the building so people saw it, or it became some kind of landmark? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends said, you ought to, because I had a huge sign that just said bicycles. I didn't say two-wheeler dealer, but he said, you ought to paint a bicycle on the side of the building. So I did. It was a 2-story bicycle, blue and kind of gray. And I became known as the bike shop with the big bicycle on the side of the building. Yeah, that was my name.
That's
But
awesome.
you could see it from the main artery through Wilmington also. So it was very visible, and that had a world effect on my business.
We always, like with our P2 groups, we'll go visit their stores, and we do an audit of the outside, making sure that people can tell they sell bicycles from their signage or their exterior. And so often little things like that are, simple, I guess, but they make a huge impact. So I love that. I wanted to make sure we shared that. Well, here we are. It's 2024. The bicycle industry has changed a lot. If you reflect back on 50 years, how would you say, or what are the notable things that you see that are different, or maybe the same?
Let's see. Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's still the same. You got to take care of your customer, make your customer happy, and they'll come back and give you business. It all boils down to that. And, even with the internet and online shopping carts, before that, we had to write down every order, descriptions, part numbers, get on the phone, call in to all these different companies, sales reps, and you got to know people on the telephone, which was nice. You made friends that way in the industry. And then if one guy or one place didn't have the tube you wanted, then you had to call the first place back and try to order that tube from. It was a bunch of phone calls. The internet has made it much easier these days.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was order takers and good salesmen.
Yes.
A good salesman, when I order a derailleur, he would say, Jim, we're out of that derailleur this week. Sorry about that. The order taker would just take your order, and then the order wouldn't show. The box would show up and the derailleur wouldn't be in there, and you needed it for a repair. So you got to know the people and who to deal with, who to trust, the honest people. And then the bike shows, you'd get to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, you didn't look like anything like I thought you looked like talking to you on the phone for the past 5 years or something.
Isn't that a thing? That's funny when that happens.
Oh, it is, but the bike shows were awesome from New York Philadelphia, Long Beach, Anaheim, Las Vegas. I mean, I'm glad to see them coming back with the cab to shows. Of course, COVID knocked a wrench in all that. So I hope to attend some of the cab to shows this winter. But I mean, I go look back and Harley Phillips, Fred Clements, Jay Townley. I sat in on all their seminars back then, and I remember those quotes from Harley Phillips that Jay was quoting the other day.
Yep, it's don't sell anything below your cost of doing business.
Right. I mean, but there are exceptions.
Right.
That was last week in your podcast.
Yep. Thank you for listening.
Oh, I listened to one.
The shows were good, and I'm glad to see them coming back as well.
They're like me. They love the bicycle industry. They can't get out of it. I mean, they're just drawn to it. It's part of their blood.
Yeah. I want to ask you some specific questions about how you run your business, but maybe just thinking about, is there, I hate to say this, a single like tip or like key that kept you in business for 50 years, but is there a mindset or a culture that you think you've created that has really helped you guys stay in business for 50 years?
It's treating the customer right. I'll go back to that time and time again. Greet them within the first 3 seconds they come in the door. We have doormats, and our rule is you have to say hi before they get off the doormat, just so you don't wander around and nobody saw you. You can be busy and wave at somebody and say hello and let them walk on around the store. At least they got acknowledged. And then little things, carry the bike out and put it in their car for them.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, my going grocery shopping with my mother and somebody helping her put groceries in the store. It's no different. Just
exceptional customer service.
mm-hmm.
You have a 30-day money back guarantee that maybe some retailers who are listening might be like, what? How can he do that? Do you think that has helped you sell bikes over the years and been a positive for your business?
An enormous amount. And I've been doing it. I forget, it's been at least 30 or 35 years. I give the customer an unconditional 30-day money back guarantee. I call it a test ride with a full deposit. If you're not happy with, I call it my bicycle, come back and get your money. And people, they'll buy a bike Saturday afternoon when you're going to be closed on Sunday so they can go ride it. But sometimes they do. Sometimes they come back, and I do eat my words. The bike will be dirty and used. I'll give them their money back. How much am I going to lose? I can always clean it and sell it, reduced price. But you make a customer for life, and they can't go off and say anything bad about you. What are they going to say? That guy gave me my money back, right? They can't do that. So it works. It really, really works. It's a brave thing to do. And just the other day, it was a $2,000 fitness bike that a guy's had for 2 or 3 years. He was actually injured for a while and couldn't ride it. It just has never shifted right. And I gave him his $2,000 back. And he said,
game,
okay,
right?
I want this $3,000 one. So order me another bike. You hear that after the fact. You don't hear, if you give him my money back, I'll order a $3,000 one. I give him his money back, and then he comes to you with even more. And he tells his friends to come to you.
Yeah.
So you eat it every once in a while, but 1 in 500, 1 in 300, you give their money back, and then you got a used bike. It's not like if they run over it with their car, I'm not going to give them it back.
Yeah, we used to have a 3-ride guarantee. You could bring it back to the store that I was at with 3 rides, and it happened once in a while they'd bring it back. But more than the bigger impact was that when someone was on that fence and not sure if they were ready to make the purchase, that would always, most of the time, get them to go ahead and make that purchase. It was great for the business. We're in a time of heavy discounting. Do you have any thoughts, philosophies on discounting?
Try not to discount. Just do your best not to. The discounting is not selling bicycles. The customers don't come in looking for sales in my area. Occasionally, yes, if they're looking on the internet, but it doesn't do us any good to discount and lower your margins. You need to keep your margins up. As a matter of fact, we price we sell a lot of beach cruisers, for example. I'll price the different brands of beach cruisers, so I'll make the same amount of money selling each cruiser. So I'll take the highest margin bike and I'll move the other ones up to that level and just disregard MSRP.
Yeah.
You have to do that because some of the companies are the lowest margin people in the market. And why should you sell a bike that's lower than your margin you should make to stay in business?
Yeah, and I don't think it helps with loyal customers over, it doesn't really, it makes the sale, but not really with that customer loyalty long term.
Right. Is
Sorry.
that the question you wanted answered? I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that's
I
perfect.
got
Yeah.
off track.
Thinking back, maybe some important lessons you've learned, maybe that you would share with other bicycle retailers who are listening.
Pay your bills on time.
Mm.
Don't get over your head. Stand behind what you sell. Never make up something to a customer. If you don't know the answer, say, I don't know the answer. Let me find out the answer. Sometimes the customers these days come in very educated, and if you're blowing smoke over their head, they're going to know it. I'll say, I may not know the answer, but one of my employees knows the answer. Let's go over and talk to him, and I'll drag them back in the repair shop or something and answer their questions. Don't use terminology the customer doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Chain ring or Presta and Schrader. We say fat and skinny valve stems, like the one on your car. It keeps them comfortable in your store. Talk at their level.
I like that. You mentioned always try to pay your bills on time. Do you recommend that people take advantage of freight discounts or early pay discounts when they can as well?
Absolutely. Those are gigantic in your profit.
And then you also mentioned briefly earlier to own your own real estate if possible. And so that's definitely one of your tips for profitability as well.
Yeah, then you can really control your rent depending on what your mortgage is, right? I mean, if you've got a mortgage payment, you got to pay that, but at least you don't have somebody over your head telling you, I'm going up on rent next month or next year, or you got community charges, for the shopping center or whatever. I mean, try to buy your own real estate. It doesn't have to be in a real high traffic area. If you're in with like a big grocery store, you got a lot of people coming out of the grocery store with ice cream. Where are they going?
Right.
Straight to the freezer. They're not
Straight to the freezer, straight to eat their ice cream.
Mhm.
And then if you own your own property, you can pay yourself rent, right? And then that's just adding to your.
Yes. I mean, you pay yourself rent, and then you got to keep the parking lot clean and keep the trees trimmed and the grass mowed, but that's part of it.
Yeah. Jim, I wanna switch over to just the customer service piece because I know you have a very loyal customer base. I'm sure you've seen generations of customers come through the store now. Just your approach to providing excellent customer service. Would you
Hire
just,
nice people.
yeah,
I mean, we do that before we hire some super experienced bike person or bike mechanic or bike sales. I don't know. We don't have a whole lot of experienced people rolling through this area. And usually you can teach people bikes, but you can't teach them to be nice. We do, it's hard to pass up a good mechanic when they come through. We have 6 or 8 mechanics that work in our store, and they're all really nice and they're real friendly to the customers. And they got to be personable.
Yeah, that you can't teach someone to be nice. I like that. That's a good principle for looking for.
These days, and it astounds me, the tips that roll around. I don't take a tip. I mean, I tell the customer, they don't know I'm the owner a lot of times. And I just say, I don't take tips, I'm the owner. And they will, well, here, give it to so-and-so or give it to the staff. But the staff gets tips that, I don't know, people appreciate it. I guess, we're being humans to them and being nice.
When it comes to customer service, you mentioned earlier about you have a mat, and that when people come into the store, they hit that mat, that you want your team to greet them and say hello. Are there any other customer service, like top level tips that you would share that you practice at the store?
Like what? You're reading my notes.
I don't know, maybe listen to about the way we talk to customers. Like, is it, how can I help you? Or is it always talking about bicycles? Is it showing the customer the bike that you think they need? Or maybe finding out where they're actually going to ride, or yeah, just, I don't know.
I got, and I've learned this through listening to those old guys at the bike shows, don't, or say something to them that doesn't have anything to do with bicycles. Talk about the weather, whatever they have on their t-shirt, whether it's a ball, football team or something, make a joke about it, get them to laugh, talk to you something about other than bicycles, and then listen to them and let them pick out the bike they want, not what you want or you think they should have. Let them test. I always tell the people, you go test ride 2 bikes, you're going to like one more than the other one.
Right. That's what, yeah.
Then if you like that style bike, let's say it's a hybrid, go test ride 2 or 3 different hybrids, and then you're going to pick the one you want and you'll be happy with it.
Yeah.
They're part of the process.
Yeah, then they get a choice, right? They get to ride it and feel it, and feel a couple, and see what they like better.
Exactly.
All right, so let's get over to the family side of the business. So you have 2 sons that I think have been working with you maybe since they were able to work. I don't know.
That, they got out of high school or even in high school. I told them, you need to work somewhere, and if you don't get a job, I know where you're working.
Do they like work? Is it good? Is it? And we have a lot of retailers who do own family businesses, so I'm wondering, yeah.
They enjoy it very much. I mean, they, I guess get frustrated just like anybody could get frustrated with the business, but they realize that it is a good thing to be doing. One of them was, they were there real early this morning. They don't have to be there that early, but he knew he had work to do. So
they're both still there, Jim. They're both still working in the business. I love it. So any advice then to retailers who are listening who do have family businesses that you've learned over the years just to ensure smooth operations along the way?
I mean, you should have it in writing what's going to happen. You never know when something out of the ordinary is going to happen. I mean, you get hurt, or you can't work anymore, or you die. I don't know. There's all kinds of terrible things to think of, but get it in writing with a lawyer. It's pretty easy to do. Be honest with your family members. It can be tough at times, but they understand it's for the business, and it can be. I tell them, this is the way I would do it. How would you like to do it? And see their opinions too.
Yeah, I like that. So I imagine, like, in the family, like if you're having dinner, is it always talk about the bike store? Like, how do you balance that? Like.
Well, I mean, I don't live with them anymore.
Oh, right.
When I did, it spills over into home too. We're texting and, emailing each other back and forth, and, about this or that. We have a group chat for the bike shop. We have a group email for the bike shop, and all the employees are chatting about what they did yesterday, or but then there's a real business kind of chat too. I think it's group me is what we use. It works pretty good.
How cool. What a neat way to raise a family and have that dynamic.
I mean, I feel very lucky to have my two sons want to take it over. Otherwise, I would, what would I be doing now?
I was going to ask you about an exit plan for when you plan to retire.
It lets me work as much as I want to. My problem is I really like to work, and it's hard to stay away even after 50 years. I just get, oh man, we need to do this and we can do this a little better. And I, just continually ways to fine tune what goes on there. But I guess I can just keep working. I don't know. I mean, am I going to ever sell it to them? I don't, somehow or another. But right now we're just working day to day. I do take off a lot. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'll take off, 3 or 4, sometimes 5 months a year. I've done that.
Yeah, and we'll
For surfing and boating, it's kind of just goofing off. But I mean, surfing, you see pictures of everywhere in the world and you want to go there. So I don't know, just it's been part of my lifestyle to be fortunate enough to travel. I used to travel 2 weeks a year, but I get to do that more now. COVID got me back into traveling and boats. But yeah, I'm fortunate to be able to travel.
I think it's really important for people to take time out of their shop to renew, and being that you have your two sons there. And I'm thinking about the future. So dynamics are shifting. I feel like relationships with suppliers are getting more challenging, making sure that the margins that you're getting, or the credits earned, it's challenging right now, and it's changing as we move forward with D2C progressing and brands trying to have those relationships directly with consumers. But the physical brick and mortar retailer plays a very important role. Are these conversations you're having with your sons about just like the future of Two Wheeler Dealer and how they should look at, relationships with suppliers and brands and best position the store?
You should, and you hit it last week on the podcast. You need to have a relationship, not necessarily a partnership. I mean, we are our own business. We need to look out for ourselves. The brands we sell are us. And that's why people come back to us. Yes, we do have pretty bicycles on the floor, but there's a lot of pretty bicycles out there. And, I try to stress to them to pay attention to, what that particular bike's costing, what you can sell it for. Do you have to put it on sale? Just there's a lot of that. And then again, I'm stressing to them to watch that. This is the way I do it. Hopefully it keeps succeeding for you for years to come.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about like favorite products or brands over the years, but your answer right there made me think about managing inventory and maybe even our ordering now going more possibly to just in time. Do you have any tips for managing inventory forward, or any lessons you've learned over the years that you would?
Coming off of COVID, we had too much inventory, and we still do in some e-bike models, which are getting older and older. We have lowered the price on some of those to try and get them to move. We had too many beach cruisers, but they don't go bad. They're still good. They might be an older color. So, a regular bike's gonna sell eventually. So you don't have to discount it. We try to hold on to that. And yeah, lately I've been thinking maybe we should be stocking up on more inventory like we did before COVID. Who knows what's going to happen with all these, the tariffs have slowed down, and the factories in China that aren't producing as much. Are we going to be able to get as many bicycles? If you have some money, buy some bicycles. The bicycles do not go bad. And what are you going to do? If you have the money, put it in the bank and get 3 or 4% on it. Look at how much you could make on a bicycle, even if you held it 6 or 8 months or a year.
Yeah, some good advice. I'm definitely thinking of some categories that I'd be looking at, like the bread and butter categories and stocking up. Staying up to date with what's happening in the industry. So do you read Brain? Do I've heard you listen to the MBDA podcast. How do you keep in touch with what's happening in the industry?
I get up every morning and look at Brain. Like this morning, I think there was 3 articles. I haven't read them all, but I pay attention to them. And yes, in my car, I listen to your podcasts, and it's a good way to. Gets me thinking. I go into those everyday meetings and just have something to come out of those podcasts towards the employees. It's
A
always
little
positive.
a little something.
Yeah.
Foot traffic. A lot of retailers are concerned right now, or the industry is concerned, just maybe with the door swings being lower than they were. And we're thinking about ways we can entice more people to come back into the store, get new riders on bikes. Any marketing strategies you've used over the years to help with that?
I haven't spent a dime on advertising in 10 years or more.
Is it word of mouth?
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
And the customers tell me the same thing. We're in a growing area down here, as you know, and these huge subdivisions, my neighbor told me to come here, or 2 or 3 neighbors told me this is where you go to get a bicycle. It's like planting corn and watching the plant grow and harvesting the corn later in the summer. But it takes years, but that's what we're feeding off of, just as literally word of mouth and treating the customer to where they want to come back to you.
What about community involvement? Do you sponsor any clubs, teams, go to any events, anything like that that maybe has proved beneficial for your business?
Yes, we've supported the bicycle club since the beginning. The real involved in the running club here in town for a while. There's been racing teams come and go. Triathlons are still pretty big in our area. The Cape Fear Cyclists is the largest bike club in North Carolina.
Wow.
And they're very active. They have numerous rides a week. We support them. And then as far as advertising, I guess, if the local high school band comes and says, will you sponsor us for our trip to Timbuktu or wherever they want to go? They want a helmet or money, or merchandise or money. Well, we've developed these little gift certificates that we just hand out kind of willy-nilly and give them 2 $25 gift certificates, and they go away happy. Everybody goes away happy because they got something, but you didn't give away a bicycle. You didn't give cash. Those cost you money. And then some of those gift certificates come back. Probably most do not. And we print them in the office on different colored paper. But it keeps the positive attitude out there. So anybody that comes in and asks us for a donation to their cause.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So you're giving me some nuggets for today, Jim. I have one more question for you.
Okay, I found this on the web. Forgive me some nuggets for today. Check it out.
Editor, we're going to need to edit that out. Here we go. So Jim, I have one more question for you today. And I think when we were preparing for our conversation today, you told me you spend 80% of your time in the store on the floor working with customers.
It's the most fun.
It's fun. Not a lot of business owners do that though. They are in the office. They're doing. Would you suggest that more?
I get stuck in the office plenty.
Yeah.
I like being on the sales floor talking to the customers. You get the pulse of the store. You oversee your employees here. What are they telling people?
Yeah.
Right. You got to keep your ears open and your eyes open too.
Keeps you really connected to the business.
Mm-hmm.
I can't cover 50 years. Like I can't cover 50 years worth of, we need more than an hour. Like there's too much here. How was the celebration that happened recently though? How was the party?
August 23rd. It was huge. We, for 2 days, we celebrated. We had the local Mexican food place, the famous one, cater, and we had a big cake and, just invited all the old customers. We didn't put it out on social media. We didn't want thousands, but we filled the store up for a couple of days and people came to visit. We had memorabilia all hung up. We moved all the store looked like a dance floor almost because we moved all the bicycles out.
That sounds excellent. We will link to your website in our show notes. If listeners want to contact you, say hello, ask you additional questions, just give a note of thanks for coming on the podcast. Is there a contact that you would share?
Sure. My email address
All
is
right.
two-wheeler dealer, spell that out, NC for North Carolina @gmail.
Excellent.
Phone number is 910-799-6444. On our website, bikesaretofun.com, there's a contact. Click on that also.
Excellent. Jim, thank you so much. Thanks for your MBDA membership, and also thanks. I'm fortunate to have some of our members reach out to me via email and text or call and share either concerns or kudos or just want to say hi. And you're one of those, and I appreciate every time I get a note from you. And it helps me improve what we're doing here, and it gives me, it's like my time on the floor. It gives me that connection to the retailer. So I think
another thing that I love telling customers is, if they're buying a bicycle, is your happiness is worth more than your money to me.
Oh, that's
Tell that right to their face, looking them in the eye, and they don't hear that anywhere, and it floors them. And I always tell them it's my bicycle and it's your money. So I like seeing my bicycles come back in, even if they're 30 years old. I say, oh, that's my old bicycle. And praise them on it.
It really is about
Customers happy.
making the customer happy.
Mhm.
Jim, you've done a lot for your community, and I will stop down soon. I promise I will be there. And again, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Heather. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you for tuning into Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please like, subscribe, or leave us a review. Sharing this podcast with your friends helps us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content. Remember, we host 2 shows per week with ever-changing guests and fresh content to keep you both informed and inspired. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is committed to providing valuable events, webinars, and opportunities for industry education and connection. Stay up to date by visiting nbda.com to see our event calendar. Special thanks to Francis Abbott for the promotional graphics for today's episode. If you're interested in advertising on Bicycle Retail Radio or have a guest suggestion, visit nbda.com to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Bicycle Retail Radio.